In today's session, we're going to be going over searching and prospecting, working with your clients. So a good place to start would be to add a client. So if we go under My Matrix, Contacts, we'll be able to add a contact through this point. There's also other places that I'll show you in the system where you can add a contact, but we'll just go ahead and add a contact directly from My Matrix, Contacts. Down at the bottom left, you have Add. If you click on Add, it'll open up the dialog box to add a contact. The only fields that are required is a first name, a last name, and an email address. There are additional fields if you'd like to put additional information in, but those three fields are required. Once we've added at least the three required fields, we'll hit Save, and you'll notice now in our list of contacts, there's Bob Barker. If we maximize Bob Barker, you'll see it immediately created a portal for Bob. What the portal is, it's your client's view of the information that you've shared with your client. So if we go and open Bob's portal, it'll show his information. And this will be his private portal page. Now there's not much information here because we haven't started working with Bob, but let me switch over to another client's portal page. Again, what the portal does, it's all the information about real estate. It's any emails that you, the agent, have sent them, whether you sent them some listings, you checked off a couple listings and you emailed it to them, or if you sent them driving directions, statistics, a presentation CMA. It's going to keep track of all of the emails here. In the past, if your client wanted to look for an email from you, they would need to go to their email inbox, find your name, and click on it to get to that information. If it wasn't the right email, they'd have to go back to their inbox, search through all the emails until they find the email that they're looking for. All they have to do with Matrix is go to their portal, and all of their real estate related emails are right there. How does your client get to the portal? The first time you share any information with your client, you email them some listings. You set up an auto notification for them. When they get that email, there'll be a link in the email. When they click on that link, it'll open up their portal. Once they get to their portal the first time, they can bookmark it, they can save it. From then on, they can go directly to their portal for any real estate needs. So again, in this first gadget, this is any emails that my agent sent to me. In the next gadget, your client has the ability to put notes on a listing, things that they like about a property, questions that they have for you. So their recent notes are right here on their homepage, keeping it in front of them, keeping them up to date on the conversations. Also, when your client's on their portal, they can categorize listings, the ones that are their favorites, the ones that they really like, the ones that are possibilities. They can also reject it listings so they don't continue to see them. Up here in the top right, these are their folders for those different properties. So if they click on the heart, they'd see their favorites, the possibilities, and that they have rejected. I think a nice feature down here in the bottom left, these are their favorites, the ones that they really like, and it's keeping them in front of them, keeping them excited about the properties, keeping them up to date on the properties. For example, this listing sold. This was one of my favorites, and now it's sold. By keeping these listings in front of them, keeping them up to date on the listing, keeping them excited about them, and also keeping them informed where they see if there are any of the properties that they really, really liked someone else is buying. By giving your client access to the portal, and you do that simply by sharing information with them, up here in the top right, where it says start a new search, you're actually giving them access to the MLS. They're looking at the live data. They're not seeing confidential information. They're not seeing commissions, listing agent information, any of that type of thing, but they're looking at the live database. So your portal provides them the only access to the live data. Realtor.com, Zillow, these other accounts, they download data from the MLS and then display it. And as some of you probably have heard, the data is not necessarily correct. If your client is running a search on your portal, they're looking at the live data. So if a house changed price 2 minutes ago and they look at that listing, they're going to see the current price. When they're searching on their portal, they can also save their own searches. So if they find an area that they're interested in, they can save that search so they can keep an eye on that area. At any given time, they can click on it and see right this second what matches whatever criteria they're looking at. And in this last gadget here, this is any auto notification that you have set up for your client. So at any time, they can refer to it. They can see exactly what meets their qualifications at this point. Now, when your client gets an email from you and they click on the link in the email, it'll open up their portal like this, showing them the listings that were included in that email. And there's different ways to look at the listings. This might be really nice when they open an email on their phone, because it's nice and easy to see. There's not a lot of scrolling. They can save favorites by clicking, possibilities, rejects, add notes, look at the photos. But on their desktop, they may want to look at a different display. So they have all of these displays available. This may be a nice one because they can see where the properties are located on the map. And as they hover over any property, it shows them where that property is located. Again, they can categorize the listings, they can look at the photos, or maybe they want to look at all of the information, all of the client-friendly information. So there's all kinds of different ways that they can look at the data. And the system's going to remember for any of their devices what display they like on that device. So when I open up an email on my desktop, I may see this view. But if I open up that same email on my phone, I may see this view. So it's going to remember per device what view they'd like to see. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do before you start working with your clients on their portal is you're going to want to configure it. You're going to want to decide how it's going to look. So we're going to go back into Matrix, and I'm going to show you how to customize your portal. Give it the look and feel that you want. To do that, you would go to My Matrix, My Information. The information that's in this area came from your member record. This is the information about you. We give you some extra fields down here, tagline, additional information that you can put in anything that you'd like to, because the information that's included in here is what's going to be available to put on your mobile header or your portal information. And that'll be clear in just a minute when we get to that point. But first, I'd like to stop at the next tab, Header and Footer. This is the header that's going to go on top of your portal. We give you some templates where you can pick one of these templates. Or you may have noticed on my portal, I've got this custom header across the top. If you'd like to, you can upload your own header image. To do that, you would come down to Upload Images. And here it tells you the size of the image that you can upload. So once you've created a custom header, you could upload it, find it on your computer, and upload it and use the custom one. You also have available, if you'd like to, where you can upload a header and footer so that when you're printing a report, you can decide, include my header and footer on it, make it look more presentable. But again, you don't have to upload your own header, but you'll want to at least go in there and pick one of these templates. The next tab, mobile header. This is what a client will see if they open an email on their telephone. You can add a photo if you would like. You can change the information in here, but you'll notice if I go to change it, all I have available is what was under the information tab. So if there's something I'd like on my mobile header that's not in this list, I would have to go back to information, put it in there, then come back in, and it would be available to add. Portal information tab. This is the information that shows up here on their portal. You can add any information, but again, you're only going to have available what you had under information. So if there's something you'd like in your portal information that's not in this list, you'd have to go add it or correct it in information. You can also, if you'd like, add a link to either your active listings or your office active listings. And then it would put those links to those listings underneath your information. And lastly, you're going to want to create an email signature. What is going to say on the bottom of any emails that you send out of the system? You can add hyperlinks if you want to hyperlink to a website. You can add photos. You can bold, italicize, change font, so you can create a signature that's going to be on the bottom of any email that you send out of the system. So again, to create how your portal, the look and feel of your portal is going to be, you're going to want to go to My Matrix, My Information, and go through the tabs. Once you've got your portal set up how you want your clients to see them, it's time to start working with your clients. So let's go ahead and go into search. Let's go into start looking at listings. If I hover over search, this is where all of my searching is done. Whether I'm searching for properties, or maybe I'm searching for an agent or an office, the information. If I click on more, this is also where my history and open house type searching is. So any type of searching you're going to do in the system is going to be located under search. So let's go into a residential search. Under the status part, if you select any of the off-market values like sold, if I select sold, it's initially going to give me the last 6 months of solds or 180 days. If for this search I only want 30 days back, I can change that to 30. Or if I want a whole year, I could change it to 365. I can even go over to the calendar here and say I only want solds from July 1st through the 23rd, or I could type a date range in. So that's how you can determine how much off-market data you get in your search results. The next thing I'd like to talk about is table-driven fields, fields where you can select multiple items. If, for example, I wanted Alexandria County, Ashe County, and Brunswick, if I click on them, it'll just select that one. If I want to pick multiples, I'll hold down my control key or my command key on a Mac, and I can select multiples. If I have one selected that I want to deselect, if I just click on it, it selects that one. So if there's one selected I want to deselect just that one, again, I hold down my control key or my command key on a Mac, and I can deselect them one at a time. So that's any table-driven field. That's how you would select multiple values. Going over to numeric fields like price, if I type in 400, That's exactly 400,000. And you'll notice down here in the bottom left, I have 0 matches. So there's 0 listings that are active that are exactly 400,000. If I wanted 400,000 or more, I would put a plus sign. Now you'll see I have 724. If I wanted 400,000 or less, I'd take away the plus sign. I go back to 0 down here at the bottom, and I add my minus sign, and now I go to 1,725. And if I want 400 to 600, I'd put 600, and I have 341. Now that's the same for all numeric fields. So if I come over here to bedrooms and I put 4, that's exactly 4 bedrooms, and there's 101 matches. Now most clients don't care if they get extra bedrooms for free. So if I wanted 4 or more, I'd put a plus sign behind that, and now I have 129. So that's the same for all numeric fields. Year built, for example. If in year built, I put 2005, I'm only going to get homes that the agents say were built in 2005. If I want 2005 and newer, I'd put 2005 plus. If I wanted 2005 and newer, but I didn't want brand new, I might put 2005-2015. So pretty much I feel if it's a numeric field, you want some sort of operand typically, a plus, a minus, or a range. Down here at the bottom of your search criteria, you can add additional fields if you need to. Like I've added agent remarks and water features. To add any additional fields that you need to search on, you would go to Add Remove. Here's all the fields that you could add. Here's the fields that you have added. So if there's something I need to add, like public remarks, I'd highlight it, I'd click Add. It would move it over here to the right. I could move it up, put it in any position I want. And now when I go back to my home page, I'd have those 3 at the bottom. If you want to clean this up, what you would do is go to Add Remove. You could say, I don't want the public remarks anymore. I don't want the water features anymore. And now when I go back to my residential, going forward from any device, I'll only have the public remarks, the agent remarks. Now, speaking of remarks, numeric text fields. In text fields, if you're looking for a certain word, you'll need to use wildcards. For example, if I want to see in the agent remarks, do any of these 129 listings, do any of them have the word pool, for example? I would type in the remarks asterisk, P-O-O-L asterisk. What that's saying is I don't care if it's the first word in the remarks, the last word in the remarks, or if it's in the middle of the remarks. So I've got 4 listings that somewhere in the agent remarks have the word pool. If I do not want the listings that have the word pool, in front of the asterisk, I would put an exclamation point. Not containing pool, and there's the 125 remaining listings. So that's any text field. That's how you could select just certain words. Once you have your criteria in for your client, typically you'd go to the results. I just want to make a quick stop at the map to show you it's going to show me where those properties are located. If I hover over any of the properties, it'll tell me price, beds, baths. And if I click on it, it'll give me more information about the property. I could even click on the MLS number and it would give me all of the details of the property. But typically, once you put in your criteria for your client, you'd go to results. And this is the initial view of your results. But there's things that you can do while you're looking at the results. You can change the way they're sorted. For example, if I hover over the name in any of the columns, I can sort by that column. So if I click on address, it'll sort ascending. If I click again, it'll sort descending. Price, click ascending, click descending. I can also change the way this looks. For example, I like my price over in the beginning. So I can go to any of these headings, not on the word, that would sort it, but anywhere else in the heading, and I can click and I can drag the field wherever I'd like it. So I could move the beds and baths to the front if I want it. I can also remove any field that I don't want. Maybe I don't want city. So if I go anywhere in the heading, not on the name, that would sort it, anywhere else and click, I can remove that column. I can also insert columns. For example, after the address, maybe I want this postal code. So I can insert a column. And I can search for code. There's the postal code. I can apply it. So I can change the way this display looks. I can also change the width of the columns. I can do whatever I need to. Now the changes that I made here will only be for this session. If I want to keep the changes, I like what I did, I can come up here to this pencil and paper up at the top right. I can click on it and I'll call this My Display. And I'll save it. So now in my list of displays, I have My Display. I can create as many displays as I'd like. Maybe I'd like another display that's got the agent name and phone number on it. Or another display for when I'm looking at sold listings that has the sold information. So I can create different displays to view different data. I can also determine which display is going to be my default. Rather than the one the board created, agent single line, I may want another display. Some agents are actually using the agent full as their default because they can move through the pick listings, seeing the photos, seeing more information. Or maybe you'd like one that you created as your default. And maybe you only want 10 per page. Or maybe you want 100 per page because you like to scroll when you're looking at the information. Whenever you get this looking the way you'd like it as your default, if you come over here to this gear, you could set that as your default. From then on, when you run a search and go to results, you'd see them the way you want to see them. For any set of results, you could always switch to a different display, but then the next time you run a search and go to results, you'll see it the way that you want to see it. You'll notice at the bottom here, my button bar is kind of grayed out at the moment. But once I start selecting listings, it'll light up and I can start doing things with these listings. For example, if I wanted to email these 4 listings, I would come here to email. If I start typing in the name of one of my clients, it'll pull up any of the matches and I could select them right from there. Or if I start typing in an email address and it matches any of my clients, it would allow me to select them. Or I could go to 2, and if I wanted to send multiple clients, I could hold down my control key or my command key on a Mac and select multiples. If I select multiples, they won't know I sent it to anyone else. It'll look to them like I just sent it to them. Or I could then type in anybody's email address. If I get to this point and this person isn't already a contact and I want to make them a contact, here's a link that I could click on and it would open the contact dialog box. I could put in at a minimum their first name, last name, and email address. That would put them in my contact database and would also create their custom portal for them. I would then type in a subject and email body and hit send. If I want to print those 4 listings, I'll go to print. And you'll notice that display that I created, my display, is available to print. So any custom display you make, you can save it and print it, for example. So there, I'll go ahead and print my display for myself, and I'll print the client thumbnail for the client. So I'll hold down my control key. I'm going to go ahead and put my header and footer on it just so you guys can see what it would look like. And then once it generates, you'll see there's my header, there's my display and my footer. And on the next page is my header, my client, and my footer. Going back to the results, just want to answer a question quickly. Right up here, once you create a custom display, or even if you want to use a different display as your default, the way to set a display as your default is to go to this gear and set whatever display is up on your screen as your default. The next button bar item is CMA. And this is if these were my comparables and I wanted to do a presentation CMA, I would click on that button and it would open up the CMA wizard and walk me through doing a presentation CMA. As far as the CMA and also just for overall, I'd want to quickly jump over into help and go to these video tutorials. And there's a lot of video tutorials that you can watch at any time to help you with any part of the session, anything in the system you need help with. And there's a very good video here on how to do a presentation CMA. So there's a lot of helpful videos out here. Going back, the next button bar item is directions. I'm going to need driving directions to those 4 properties. Matrix puts the properties in the quickest driving order, but that doesn't always work for you folks, depending on appointments, that type of thing. So if you need to go in a different order, all you need to do is click and drag any of these properties into the order that you need to go. You can add a start, maybe your office or their home. You could add a stop and put the stop down at the bottom, but if the stop's where you want to take them for lunch or whatever, you can always click and drag, put it wherever you want. If you've made any changes, you'll need to regenerate the directions. And then it'll give you directions from the first property to the second to the third to the fourth. It'll give you mileage and drive time. And at the top, it'll give you overall mileage and drive time. And then you can email or print the directions. There's also some statistical type information you can get right from the button bar. If I go to stats, it'll give me quickly the minimum, maximum, average, and medians for those properties. And there's a nicer one, I think, down here at the bottom, the quick CMA. It gives me the same information, but it also shows me the actual listings that went into creating those minimum, maximum, average, and medians. So right from the Actions button bar, there's some quick statistical features. The next button bar is Refine. That's if I only want to see the listings that I have selected. I can narrow them, so I'm only seeing those 4 listings. If I want to go back to all the listings again, if I come up here to the top left, I can go back to the original results. Or I could hit my browser back button. It would take me back to the previous page. The next button bar is Save. There's 2 kinds of searches in Matrix. There's a saved search. That's a search that's in Matrix, just waiting for me to log into Matrix, click on it, and run it. And there's a new auto email, one that's going to work for me, notifying my client. If I go to the Save Search, I could name this search. And then if I wanted to, I could actually put it on my home page. One reason you might want to save a search is, let's say you want to set up where you can run a search and it's always only going to be single family homes. So you could open up the search criteria, you could select single family, and then before you put any other criteria in, you could go to save that as a saved search, and then in the future when you wanted to run a search just for single family homes, you could click on that search, open it up, and then put in your specific criteria for that search. New auto email, one that's going to work for you, one that's going to notify your client. To receive an auto email, the person has to be a contact. They have to be in your contact database. If you get to this point and they're not already a contact, you can click on that link and create a new contact. First name, last name, email address at a minimum. That would make them a contact, and then they would also be able to receive auto notification. The subject. The subject, what you type in here, is the name of the search. Whatever you type in here is what is going to show up as on your client's portal. It's what the emails are going to say. So you want to put something meaningful in here. Maybe the part of town, the person's criteria, something that's going to mean something to your client. There's 2 different emails associated with auto notification. There's the welcome email, the one that goes out every time you save it for the first time. The welcome email only goes out one time. The recurring email is what's going to go out every time it finds new matches. It's showing you what it's going to say in the email, but you could always add something if you want it. If you added something, that would only be for this search's recurring email. But if you've customized it, you've added something that you want to use for all of your recurring emails going forward, again, you have your little gear here. If you click on the gear, you could set that as your default for your recurring emails going forward. The welcome email also, you could add or change the information here. And whatever you added or changed would only be for this search's welcome email. Or if you go to your gear, you can make it your default for all welcome emails going forward. As we move down, we get into the settings section here, and you'll notice this section here, Concierge. What Concierge does is it allows you to put yourself in the middle of the auto notification. Hopefully we all know how auto notification works. you go into this matrix, you put in your client's criteria. They're looking in this part of town for this price range homes. They want so many bedrooms, all of their criteria. And then you come in here and you save this auto notification. So the system will work for you. It'll automatically send emails to your clients and keep them up to date on what's available that matches their criteria and the changes, the price changes. The system will automatically run on a regular basis and notify your clients. What Concierge allows you to do is it allows you to put yourself in the middle of the process. The search will run constantly, and if it finds any matches, it'll notify you, the agent, and then you get to review the listings, determine if you want them to be sent to your client or not. So if I put it in concierge mode, you'll notice the days of the week here that the search is going to run and possibly send out emails if there's new matches. They're going to go away because, again, the search is going to run constantly and it's going to notify me, the agent, when there's any new matches. And then I get to determine what listings go to my client. And when I approve them, it would send the email at that time. If you put an auto notification in concierge mode, you can also have it alert you by email, alerting you that you have listings waiting. Otherwise, you'd have to log into Matrix, and on the home page, there's a gadget that'll alert you that there's listings waiting. Now, if I was to save this auto notification in concierge mode, the first thing it would do is show me all the listings and give me an opportunity to reject any of the listings that I don't want to go to my client. And then as soon as I approve any of the listings, the welcome email would be sent to my client. If I do not put it in concierge mode, my days of the week that it's going to run come back. And I could have the search run every morning, checking if there's new listings and sending out an email. Or I could have it run every afternoon. Or maybe it's a real hot market and I run it to run twice a day, morning and afternoon, checking if there's anything new. And it'll only send an email if, in fact, there's new information. Or maybe this client only wants emails on the weekends. So I can say, just run Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, if a listing came on the market Monday that matched their criteria, but it sold on Thursday, it would not go out in the Friday email, and you wouldn't want it to. It's no longer available. But if a listing came on the market Monday and it's still available Friday, it would go out in the Friday email. Now, if I was hit to save, not in concierge mode, as soon as I hit save, the welcome email would go to my client so they could start viewing the properties on their portal. Let's go back to the home page here, because once you have at least one search set up in concierge mode, you'll get this gadget, and it'll alert you to any listings that are waiting for any of your clients. So if you click on those listings, it'll tell you which search it came from. You can look at the photos. You can look at the full display. You can look at whatever you need to determine if, in fact, the property matches your client's criteria. And after I reviewed them, if those two did not meet their criteria, I could reject them. My client would never see those two listings that I rejected. Now I could select the rest, click on approve, and as soon as I clicked on approve, the email would go to my client showing them only the listings that I've approved for them. Now, if any of you go home today and you're looking for your concierge gadget won't exist because you don't have anything set up in concierge mode. As soon as you would save an auto notification in concierge mode, that gadget will magically appear. All of your auto notifications and your searches, if we go back into the contacts and we go over to Jessica Smith's, for example, and open it up, here are her auto notifications. So as soon as I save an auto notification, it'll save it under the contact. You'll notice this one has a red exclamation point. That's because it's disabled. It's no longer running. The ones that are actively running will have a check mark in front of them. If you click on any of these, here's all the different settings. So if you wanted to change the settings, for example, maybe they decided they only wanted emails on the weekends, you could make changes there. Or maybe you need to change the criteria for an email. Now, personally, if a person's criteria changes, I personally would set up a new auto notification for them. So they'd have their old criteria and their new criteria. But if you'd like, you can go in and change their criteria. So you could go into criteria and say, okay, they just had a baby, so now they need 5 or more listings, whatever. And then you could hit save. So this is how you can see how the auto notification is set up and make any changes that you may have to